Welcome back, Seth Bling here. And today I want to show you a speedrun of Super Mario Bros. 2, but not really. This is a speedrun that I did on a cartridge called Super Mario All-Stars plus Super Mario World. And before I go too far, I gotta give a huge shout out to Mr. Cheese, who did a ton of research on the technical aspects of this run to make this all possible. The other day I did a run like this in Super Mario Bros. 3. Basically, I started a new game in Super Mario Bros. 2, or 3 in that run, immediately save and quit and start a new game in Super Mario World. And then I do arbitrary code execution in Super Mario World. In this case, that arbitrary code execution will do a couple things. It will jump into World 7-2 in the middle of the level. It actually jumps to World 7-5, which is not a real level, but it happens to sort of share enough data with World 7-2 that that the game gets tricked into basically playing World 7-2. And so after I go through a door and die, I'm actually in 7-2. So it's like skips not only level World 7-1, but also half of level 7-2. It also enables debug mode, which is a feature that's sort of built into the game, but normally unreachable. You have to set a byte that normally cannot be set through any means in the game. But with arbitrary code execution, we can do it. And debug mode lets you toggle no clip, and it lets you get a free star power and 4 hearts, which are basically just extra hits that you can take without becoming small. They're like a little shield. So debug mode, no clip, obviously, as you can imagine, saves a lot of time. It also makes you go a lot faster, just move a lot faster. The star actually lets you defeat Wart really fast too. Once you hit him, he's vulnerable. So yeah, I want to talk about what's going on in the run to make that all work. This is not really a world record for Super Mario Bros. 2, even though it beats the current time that is the world record for Super Mario Bros. 2. That current world record is by Cool Kid. It's 7 minutes 27 seconds on Super Mario All-Stars, which is the game that I'm playing. They use save and quit in that speed run to basically get to World 4 and then save and quit to go to World 3, which lets you just have a faster warp path to get to World 7. So they use save and quit. I'm also using save and quit, but they don't, switch games with their save and quit. So this glitch here, you've seen it before, maybe. Power up incrementation. Normally Mario's power up state is 0, 1, 2, or 3 for small, big, keep, or flower. We do this glitch where we have multiple Yoshis and we get an item in one Yoshi's mouth and then kill that Yoshi. And then there's a null sprite in the other Yoshi's mouth, which ends up corrupting the stack. And then we corrupt the stack and return to an invalid stack address, which then just happens to run some code which increments Mario's power-up state. So he went from power-up 3, which is fire power, onto 4, and then onto 5, because I did the glitch twice. Here, I'm doing a setup. This is a faster setup than I used for Super Mario Bros. 3 to get some RAM addresses set. Basically, I need certain things to appear on screen in certain spots, like this white splat when I kick this shell up needs to be in a certain spot, and then that shell needs to be despawned at a certain on-screen X coordinate. So I start select there so that it gets despawned at that particular coordinate. Then I spit out red shells at certain X coordinates. The sprite X coordinate table is one byte after another for the different sprites on screen. And so as I spit out more and more of these shells, it'll set up a bunch of code in that sprite X coordinate table. And then when I run the arbitrary code execution exploit, basically by letting a 1-up touch Mario, the game gets confused. It doesn't know what code it's supposed to run, and it ends up running code from the sprite X coordinate table because of all the setup we did previously. And that code, there's actually 2 arbitrary code execution glitches in this one. The first one you'll see in a second here when that 1-up touches Mario. And then the second one, I'll do this whole thing again. The first one sets a couple of addresses sets a couple of memory values in SRAM. SRAM is the type of RAM that's on the game cartridge itself. It's used to store game files. In this case, we're not actually corrupting a save file. Instead, there's a procedure which we will call that loads another game at a certain level. So in order to tell it what levels you want it to load, you have to set some values in SRAM. And so basically we write 6 to one address and 5 to another address. Those kind of get incremented, so we get world 7.6, which world 7.6 is not an actual like level in the game. 7.2 is the last level. So 7.6 is a glitched out level, and we'll see that momentarily here. And then another value we set is the debug mode byte, which is also somewhere in SRAM, which normally gets cleared when you reset, but we don't actually reset here. We just jump straight into the other game. So here when the 1-up touches me, that second ace runs, it calls the game change routine. World 7.6, you can see it there. And now I have debug mode active. Because 7.6 is not a real level, basically I have to go through a door and then die to sort of reload the level. So you can see there it said world 7.2. Now here is debug mode. This is a very powerful mode. I can move very fast. I go no clip, just go right through walls. There's an enemy coming up here that I have to fight. You can't kill that with star power. If you try and kill this enemy with star power, you just like can't use it as an exit into the next level. So you have to kill it with this mushroom block, but it's relatively fast. And then you walk through it. And then here, you actually have to hit Wart with a veggie in order to make him vulnerable. But once you do, he becomes vulnerable to your star power and then dies. And actually, because of the way we've glitched out the sound engine, normally it waits for the sound for the current music to end to open that door. But because the star music ended, we actually get to go in the door faster than you normally would in a normal SMB2 run. So a lot of glitching out the game. It gets very confused. Once again, gotta give a huge shout out to Mr. Cheese. Yeah, he did most of the technical research. I did most of the routing. And I was we were collaborating. I suggested some things to look into for him, or he had a problem and I would suggest a solution, and that worked out sometimes. So we were working together, but we sort of had different focuses. So yeah, like I said, this does beat the time, the Cool Kids any percent world record at 7 minutes and 27 seconds by a little over a minute. A few days ago, I did a run of this that did not beat that time. What that run did, it was a little bit different. It just wrote 1 byte into the save file. Basically said, what's the highest level you've beaten? And the answer was like 100, or the highest, I guess, world that you've cleared. The answer was like 100 something. And so you basically we corrupted 1 memory byte in that save file, which was enough to allow us to basically load the save file at world 7. We didn't have debug mode in that one, and my gameplay in world 7 was not that good. So my time was 8 minutes, roughly, which again does not beat that time, the Cool Kids time. So you could do it faster though with that route. You could beat Cool Kids 7 minute 27 second time. And so I posted this in the SMB2 Discord and asked, do you think this counts as a valid speedrun of the game? Given the fact that I, go into Super Mario World and run arbitrary code from there. And the answer was no. The people that responded said no, they didn't think it was valid. There were no rules against it at the time, but since then they did add some rules that said you're not allowed to switch games, you're not allowed to use arbitrary code execution, you're not allowed to corrupt the save file for SMB2. So it is very much not allowed by the rules in the Super Mario Brothers 2 any percent All-Stars category. But I think there's like some interesting philosophical things about this route. It does use the resources available to you on the game cartridge and nothing else to complete the game. You start a new game of Super Mario Bros. 2, and 6 minutes, 26 seconds later, you have triggered the credits in Super Mario Bros. 2 using nothing but the resources on the game cartridge. Obviously, switching games is not something you would expect during a game, but it's not like I'm swapping cartridges. There are some other runs that are, I think, a little bit less legitimate because you swap cartridges. Here you can see I save and quit, and actually this did corrupt the save file. Didn't need to, but that was just one of the side effects. It corrupted the save file for SMB2, and I can actually load up that save file. You can see it's in like missing no, world missing no is the highest completed world. But yeah, you can actually go through a bunch of invalid worlds too and load up worlds that don't really exist. And Most of them will just crash or they'll be really glitchy, but some worlds like World 7-6, I guess it's some levels like World 7-6, kind of correspond to actual levels and will let you actually play the game. So, but yeah, it does corrupt the save file. Though if I were to use the hardware reset, hit the reset button on the console, it would clear out all the save files, and not just Super Mario Brothers 2. It would clear out all the save files from all the games. There's like a magic number that's stored in the save file. They're the save data. If that magic number doesn't have a certain value, then it's like, well, memory got corrupted, just delete everything. So yeah, and we write to that magic number just as a side effect of what else is going on. But yeah, here you can see debug mode and how it lets you kind of cheese through the game really fast. It's very silly, but I imagine this was like a testing feature that they just didn't really. They kind of removed it in the fact that there's no way to actually like trigger that through normal gameplay, but you can trigger it through arbitrary code execution just by setting 1 byte. Anyway, this was really fun to kind of figure out how to do and make it work and learn how to do it. And it's fun that it's like faster than the world record for the game. In some sense, this is the fastest completion ever done of Super Mario Brothers 2 using original hardware for a version of the game. In some sense, it is, but in another much more real sense, I don't know. It's not really what most people think of when they think of Super Mario Brothers 2 gameplay, you know? Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.